For 3 or 4 months last summer, all I heard about was the new and improved Chris Cuomo. Hey, it's me, Chrissy C. After he was fired from CNN in late 2021, the man known for tag teaming the cigar took a few months off to reflect. He was trying to figure out who he was. Who is the real Chris Cuomo? Am I the pretender dressed in a suit, trying to look professional as I deliver propaganda on CNN? Or am I the lonely dude sending shirtless selfies to my dwindling audience? After a few months of admiring himself in the mirror, Chris Cuomo finally figured out who he was. The self described free agent. He put together a massive marketing campaign. Now, the foundation of this campaign was the marketing of the new and improved Chris Cuomo. That man that we saw on CNN in primetime every night, that was not the real Chris Cuomo. The man fabricating stories, the man lecturing people who supported Donald Trump, the elitist who thought he was better than you and me. That was not the real Chris Cuomo. No, 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 no. The real Chris Cuomo, he's just like you and I. He doesn't identify as a Democrat. He doesn't identify as woke. That was simply the role that he was paid to play at CNN. Chris Cuomo, he promised to give his audience, he promised to give us a more authentic version of himself. After months and months of marketing himself as the biggest free agent in the mainstream media, after months of waiting by the phone, hoping one of the heavy hitters would call, Chris Cuomo's phone finally rang. Hello, it's me, Chrissy C. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? Are you looking for a bride? Press 1 to be connected to your future wife. I'm already married to my emotional support goat. Chrissy C. out. Poor Chris Cuomo. He was feeling dejected when the phone rang again. This time, it was a legitimate offer from News Nation, who was willing to pay him $1 million every year in woke welfare to be the face of their fledgling network. News Nation today averages 63,000 viewers, with most of that number coming from reruns of Blue Bloods, which averages around 300,000 an episode. News Nation markets themselves as the cable news network for normal people. With Chris Cuomo reimagining himself as an independent moderate, a normal person who is suddenly dedicated to reporting the truth instead of propaganda, this seemed to be the perfect fit. On paper, this marriage should be perfect. Chris Cuomo files for divorce from his emotional support goat, entering into a more perfect union with News Nation. The thinking was, if Chris Cuomo could convince just 10% of his social media following to watch him on News Nation in prime time, that audience number would bleed into other programming at the network. Chris Cuomo retains his status as a millionaire. News Nation receives a boost in ratings and ad revenue. Everybody wins. There's just one small problem. One tiny, tiny little problem with this plan. If you're going to deliver bipartisan news to normal people, there's one ingredient you have got to have in order to be successful: authenticity. Your audience has to trust the person delivering the news. They also need to be entertaining. Unfortunately for News Nation, Chris Cuomo is neither. Back in October, ratings for his debut episode came in at 147,000. A couple of weeks later, as the ratings were rapidly declining, Chris Cuomo, he invites Kanye West on the show. Now, this was at the height of all the Kanye controversy. Chris Cuomo, he is such a huge, embarrassing failure. Kanye West refused to come into the studio for a face-to-face interview. He did it by phone instead. In a time where Kanye was boosting ratings on other networks, his interview with Chris Cuomo, 127,000 viewers. After months of promoting the new and improved Chrissy C, the real Chris Cuomo, he began to emerge. There were rumors that he was pushing for Dan Abrams' time slot. I am not a failure because my face resembles a punching bag. I am failing because of my time slot. Give me Danny's time slot and I guarantee rating success. Trust me, I am a veteran in this business. Everyone loves Chris Cuomo. Yeah. News Nation, They were not biting into that shit sandwich. They were not moving a loyal Dan Abrams to cater to the ego of Chris Cuomo. If lonely men are not watching a shirtless Cuomo at 8, what makes you think they'll watch at 9? This dude is so pathetic, he is consistently beaten by Eric Bowling in the ratings. The only thing saving Chris Cuomo at this point is Bomani Jones. I am sure he thanks his therapist every session that Bomani Jones is still on television, because no one else's ratings are as bad as Chris Cuomo. About 3 weeks ago, the last time I gave you guys an update on Prissy Chrissy, he was barely making the top 500 on cable. Fast forward 3 weeks later, he is ranking outside the top 500. During the month of February, Chris Cuomo has attracted 1.5 million viewers. Well, KC, that is amazing! Chris Cuomo is one of the biggest draws in primetime cable news. No. That's 1.5 million viewers total throughout the month of February. That is his total audience across 12 shows. Chris Cuomo is averaging 127,000 viewers, ranking him at number 501 on the cable charts. This dude ranks third on his own struggling network that no one else is watching. He is now being beaten by Dan Abrams. If you look at other programs on News Nation, everyone's ratings are up. Hell, they have nowhere to go but up. Dan Abrams up 14%. Some dude named Banfield or Woman or They's ratings are up 24%. Leland Vittert up 34%. Chris Cuomo down 6%. When drug addicts are coming out of rehab, they often talk up a good game. They make promises that they intend on keeping at the time. It's easy to remain clean when life is going your way, but the measure of true recovery, that is watching what happens when the addict is finally faced with adversity. Some manage to push through and stay clean, but most revert back to old behaviors and begin using again. It is no different with someone who is addicted to attention. It was easy for Chris Cuomo to make claims of being a changed man when he was looking for a job, when he was looking for a paycheck. It was easy to claim his days of lies and propaganda were behind him when his new show was in its infancy. But how does Chris Cuomo conduct himself when ratings are down, when he is starved for attention and he's not getting his fix? What does he do? He reverts back to the same behavior. The real Chris Cuomo is standing up. Earlier this week, Chris Cuomo, he was the guest on something called Open Book with Anthony Scaramucci. With a podcast titled Open Book, you would assume it's dedicated to the truth, which is ironic, since they invited someone like Chris Cuomo on the show who is allergic to the truth. Now, to his credit, the mooch, he was able to get Chris Cuomo to open up. When discussing his primetime debut at CNN, he claimed that he was not set up to be number one. He said that he was not the big star at the network. Now, this is a rare example of truth and honesty from Chris Cuomo. He's absolutely right. Back in 2018, he was not the biggest star at CNN. That was Donald Trump. Well, Casey, that's not true. Donald Trump has never worked at CNN. Yeah. Go watch clips of CNN from 2016 to 2021, and you tell me Donald Trump was not the biggest star at the network. Damn sure wasn't Donnie and his Lemons or Jake the Bongo Tapper. Chris Cuomo claimed the reason he eventually became number one in prime time was because he was the best show. We gave the people what they wanted and needed to hear. Again, he's absolutely right. But see, here's the thing. If Chris Cuomo were a true draw in cable news, he should have no problem drawing ratings at News Nation. Now, I'm not saying he should be drawing millions or even 1 million viewers, but he would be doing better than 127,000. The reason he was successful at CNN is because he gave the people what they wanted or what they needed. Bashing Donald Trump. You remove Trump from the equation, and what are you left with? Chris Cuomo, a man who could not attract flies to a steaming pile of horse shit. During the interview, Chris Cuomo claimed to be embarrassed by his ratings on News Nation. I guess I should sue him for copyright infringement because I've been calling him an embarrassment for months now. He is suing CNN for $60 million for wrongful termination. When asked about it during the interview, he said he wasn't going to bitch about it in the press. Then he proceeded to bitch about it in the press. He's also suing HarperCollins for canceling the publication of his book, Deep Denial. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Never has a book been more aptly titled, because Chris Cuomo, he has been living in deep denial for the last 18 months. Now, the most interesting part of this interview was when Chris Cuomo was talking about his mentality right after being fired from CNN. He was in an understandably deep depression. He went from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the woke sea. Listen for yourself.
Accepted. I had to accept because I was going to kill everybody, including myself. Things can consume you. Italians are so passionate. And I really had to fight against that because, just like you did, I got too many people counting on me.
Okay, so this clip started circulating on social media over the weekend. The New York Post, they picked up the story. They published an article titled, Chris Cuomo, and then in single quotes, I was going to kill everybody and myself after CNN firing. That's pretty much what he said, right? Matter of fact, that is not pretty much what he said. That is exactly what he said. Not according to Chris Cuomo, though. No. According to the cigar, he is now a victim of mischaracterization. He's accusing the New York Post of twisting his words. Check it out for yourself. Now, you got to remember, this is the same dude who is supposedly dedicated to truth and honesty. He is giving us a lecture on how journalism works. He is explaining some unknown rule on single and double quotations. Now, of course, this rule only exists in the Chris Cuomo School of Journalism, which can be taken at a woke U campus near you. No one else has heard of it. Twitter has even flagged the tweet, alerting people that Chris Cuomo is full of shit. Dude, I know you don't want to believe this. I know this is hard for you to accept, but it's over. It is over. Chris Cuomo, your mainstream media career is over. You have once again been exposed as a fraud. When I first heard this audio, my immediate thought was, if somebody like Tucker Carlson or Sean Hannity said he was going to whack everybody, there would be outrage in the mainstream media. Chris Cuomo says it, he's being given a pass. But he's not being given a pass. He has become so irrelevant, people don't care. Therefore, the media doesn't care. It's over, dude. It is over. You tried podcasting. Failure. You tried YouTube. Failure. News Nation. Failure. You keep up this pace, Chris Cuomo, he's going to dethrone Bomani Jones as the biggest, huge, embarrassing failure of 2023. But give me your thoughts. Chris Cuomo playing the victim again, claiming the New York Post is twisting his words when they quoted him verbatim. Do you see any chance, a glimmer of hope, that Chris Cuomo can revitalize his media career? You let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.